Do you believe in miracles? Yes! This is Sounds Obtuse Podcast. I am your host, Chris. With me, always, is my co-host, Dylan. How are you, buddy?
Man, I'm doing great. That intro got me jacked. I'm ready to
As it
go.
should. As it fucking should.
I'm excited. This is going to be a fantastic podcast.
Totally is. A little allusion to what we're talking about later on in the episode. Would you like to drop that on us right now?
No, I didn't. Well, yeah, you know what? I was going to save it, but let's just go ahead and do it. We all know what kind of time of the year it is.
It's the season, baby.
'Tis the season for the Olympics.
Curling.
That's right. It's one of my favorite times of the year. I love of the 2 years. I love the Olympics.
Yeah, it's been one of those weird years. We'll talk about that though.
Love them so much. So I'm super excited to talk about the Olympics a little bit tonight, and then we got a few other cool things planned. But yeah, that's what I'm really excited about.
Yeah, we watched a lot of stuff so far already, so it's pretty interesting. Before we get into that, we always like to kind of just give a little breakdown of how we've been doing this week, what's been new, that sort of thing. So, Dylan, how's your week been? You know you've been playing a lot of Red Dead. You want to elaborate on that? Maybe talk about some other stuff.
I was playing a lot of Red Dead. It's just been kind of the vibe I've been
It's a
finding
solid
myself
game,
in.
man.
Man, it is. It's so great because like every time I go back and play Red Dead, I feel like I enjoy it more and more and more.
I feel that same with Grand Theft Auto, and it's basically GTA in the Wild West. Let's be honest.
Yeah. And like, I mean, honestly, I think like real players already know what I'm about to say, but you got to get that Legends of the East satchel before you start anything else. You can do that shit like almost immediately after you start the game. You get that shit. You get 99 carrying capacity for almost every item in the game. Okay, I'm talking like 99 perfect rabbit pelts. Listen, perfect rabbit pelt sells in Valentine for like $4. 99 times that, you're making tons of money.
Yeah, get that Skrilla.
That's the way to go. Get that fucking Skrilla. But aside from the video game world, I've also been exploring the real world. Ooh. I was over at Gaines's Mill Battlefield, just south of Richmond, Hanover County. Part of the 7 Days battles. It's really one of the first battles where we get to see Robert E. Lee emerge from command during the Civil War back during '62.
Did he lose that one?
Robert E. Lee did not lose that one. Robert E. Lee made himself famous during the 7 Days battles. So the Confederate commander, General Joseph Eggleston Johnston, shot and wounded on the field of Seven Pines / Fair Oaks. Lee comes up from Richmond, assumes command. Basically, people are thinking maybe this guy will be able to kind of hold on for us till we can find somebody. And over the course of the next 7 days, including the second day at Gaines's Mill, the largest of the 7 Days battles, Lee demonstrates that he is more than someone to hold the place for Johnston, but is probably, in fact, a much better general than Johnston. And so that is the battle where the South finds its winning general. Well, not its winning general, but the general that's going to keep them.
General.
Yes, keep them winning for the longest. And so Gaines's Mill has always been a fond place. Fantastically preserved battlefield. I don't know if anyone's on YouTube checking out the American Battlefield Trust. They do a fantastic job of protecting and preserving battlefields across this country. Civil War battlefields, Revolutionary War battlefields, even a couple of War of 1812 battlefields. They have actually bought and preserved to keep from like what happened with the Battle of Fair Oaks. We no longer have that battlefield. It's literally just a suburban development. But,
that's how it goes sometimes.
But luckily, Gaines's Mill, a couple other places, we still have those. So thank you to the American Battlefield Trust, certainly. But get out there and check those things out, or look around you and see if you can't find some American battlefields and see what's out there.
Yeah, it's hard to almost agree with some of the, I guess the Confederacy in general. But, as a Virginian, like, I really can relate to Robert E. Lee.
Yeah.
In that regard. It's just being a statesman, know.
We I would love to jump in there, but we're gonna have a whole podcast on that one. I'm sure one of these days.
I might be baiting you there.
Yeah, I know. I feel like you are baiting me, and I'm not gonna take it. I'm gonna go ahead and save that.
We got bigger fish to fry today.
I will say this. I will say this, and I will actually tease a future episode I'm sure we're gonna have. Robert E. Lee is actually one of my favorite generals of all time, and you guys have heard everything else I've said in this pod. You know where I'm at politically. So you put those two things together. Let's see what's going to happen there. So tune in, wait for our Civil War podcast. That'll be great.
That'll be exciting. Let's do it.
But what have you been up to, Christian?
So I too have also been playing some video games. I think I mentioned it last week. Still hard at the Dead Cells. Super fun roguelike. Get all those weapons, kill things. It's the perfect one more run. I want to try this one more time. Gotta get one more again. And I know you're a fan of the Need for Speed series. Been playing some Need for Speed, Need for Speed Hot Pursuit.
Hot Pursuit, man.
Yeah, Hot Pursuit remastered, of course, on the Switch. It's all analog on those controllers, so you gotta like really get that drifting down. But it's been fun playing some video games. Reading some books, that sort of thing. Nothing as extravagant as Catcher in the Rye or Metamorphosis, but did have some other things going on. After last week's episode, I really got into creating more music. It was very inspiring having to talk with a real-life professional musician who also happens to be in studio, not necessarily on the mic today, but as a fan of the pod. I really got into recording music, laying down some actual live drums, doing some vocals, that sort of thing.
You just been vibing to the music?
Oh, yeah, man. It's been super fun. And you got the whole studio here. Couple of things. As always, I try to have a couple news stories that I think are kind of fun to bring in. You open to that idea?
Let me have them, yeah.
So, first up, we got, I was going to say Edward Cullen, but I should say, what's the guy's name?
Robert Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson. We got Robert Pattinson's Batman coming out in theaters soon.
What do you think about that?
So, when they first announced Robert Pattinson, I was like, oh, man, they're just trying to get the chicks in to see Batman, but that's fine. Whatever gets the people in the theaters, right? Butts and seats is what it's all about. And the more I see it, I'm like, man, he's going to make a great Bruce Wayne. I'm not fully sold on his Batman yet, but I mean, I can see where they're going with it.
I feel like it's actually interesting to hear you say this because I have a similar idea. So like what they did with the Joker and like how they had like not as the Joker, but as the beginnings of the Joker.
Joaquin's Phoenix Joker.
Yeah, sort of like Batman just prior to becoming Batman, which I get is sort of like what Batman begins.
That's kind of what this is. That's exactly what I was thinking. Like he would make a great Batman's Begin Joker or Batman Begins Batman.
If you did, I think you need the movie before Batman Begins. You need the movie.
Is that what this is?
Well, I have no idea. I'm not gonna lie. I'm full disclosure. I have no idea what this fucking movie is about. I'm not caught up with it.
The villain is the Riddler. He's got like a burlap sack over his face.
Who is playing Riddler?
I don't know. Unfortunately, I couldn't tell you that. But what I could tell you is that they have a promotional food item at a fast food restaurant promoting the Batman. Guess what it is?
I'm gonna say McDonald's, probably.
Not McDonald's. It is a Little Caesars Batman pizza.
I bet. Is it just shaped like Batman?
So if you remember the crazy calzone pizza they had pretty recently, where they basically took a whole like pizza, cut like 2 pieces straight and folded them over, made like a calzone out of half the pizza. They basically did that same thing, but with a Batman logo.
Awesome.
So yeah, I'm down for that. I've had the crazy calzone; it was pretty solid. So I can only imagine it shaped as Batman would be at least 1.25 times better.
I mean, that's pretty fair. Honestly, that's pretty fair assessment.
Same pizza with Batman on it.
Amount of integrity put into the work.
Totally.
But yeah, I think like 1.25. That sounds pretty fucking straight.
Totally. Some other news. If you're not up on the Guitar Hero Pro Circuit,
I can't tell you the last time I thought about Guitar Hero.
So there's a recent.
You always make me think about the weirdest things. I fucking love it.
So in Guitar Hero news recently, there's a lot of good players in Guitar Hero because, many years have passed. People who still play, you'd imagine they'd be pretty damn good at it right now, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, one guy in particular was so good, people started raising some eyebrows, having a couple questions here and there. And they noticed in, some of his videos, his finger tapping technique is not like the others who actually do it. So he got called out, got found of cheating, so all his records, all his stuff is just out the window. I think it's still in alleged formation now, but it's like 98% confirmed at this point.
98% confirmed.
I think
pretty bad place to be, but I would say OJ was probably 98%.
Yeah, I think
confirmed, and look what happened to him.
At least at the time of this recording, I don't think he's admitted to it. That's pretty much the last straw. You know what I mean? But that's pretty bad when you're cheating at Guitar Hero. Shit. When you're cheating at Guitar Hero in 2022.
What are you doing? You ain't got nothing better to do?
What are you doing? Exactly.
I mean, Donald Trump tried to cheat a fucking election. You're trying to cheat at a kid's game.
What are you doing?
Speaking of
kids games, Pokemon. You know Pokemon.
I do. Cuddly little creatures.
They had a new video game come out.
Say their own names.
Yeah, Pokemon. What do you think? Do you think they're saying their names, or do you think they're saying the only thing they could say?
Well, that's fair. But then again, what isn't a name?
True.
Look at us, philosophy.
Yeah,
you get it.
You can't name manatees. You can't name Pokemon. It just comes natural.
Names.
So they got a new video game coming out, Pokemon Arceus, however you want to say it, where you're actually like throwing the balls at the Pokemon this time, not just like RPGing around, that sort of stuff. But they also made a new line of Pokemon trading cards based off the Pokemon Go mobile game. 6 years too late, but
Has it already been 6 years?
It'll be 6 years this July.
I remember when Pokemon Go launched.
2016 July.
No
They just had their 5th year anniversary.
Did it launch here?
Worldwide, same day. July 7th, July 6th, 2016.
I'm old, man.
Dude, 5 years went by too fast.
I am old.
Too fucking fast. So that game came out. I don't know too much about this one, but I think just on a base level, probably a response to Microsoft, purchasing the rights to, Blizzard? Activision Blizzard, right?
Activision Blizzard.
So Sony
Which is huge. Like, I don't think, people outside of the game world don't get how fucking big that is.
That's huge. That's incredible.
So fucking big. But to digress, I don't want to take you away from your point, but I just want to stress that.
I'll summarize. So basically, you have all these huge properties like Crash Bandicoot and Call of Duty owned by Microsoft now. It almost seems like a shot at Sony. So Sony, perhaps in retaliation, said, hey, if you guys are going to buy Crash Bandicoot, a former mascot of us, you know what we're going to do? Sony Entertainment of America? We're going to buy Bungie. You know, the Bungie from Halo?
I do.
So they bought them.
I guess if you're playing chess, they're swapping queens.
Yeah, I mean, they I think Destiny's still going to be multi-platform. I don't know about crossplay. I think, if anything, should bring Sony on board with crossplay, it would be this acquisition, but that remains to be seen.
As someone who has played religiously, with intent, every single Call of Duty game from Call of Duty 2, essentially. I never played the first one, but from Call of Duty 2, okay? OG 2, I'm talking Big Red 1. I've played every single Call of Duty.
Big Red 1, huh? It's PS2 exclusive, wasn't it?
Big Red 1, played all the way back from there. And so Activision, I sort of look at them kind of like how medieval Catholics looked at the Antichrist. And I sort of am very happy that Microsoft has them, because Microsoft does great things. Microsoft Game Pass is insane. So to see like brand new Call of Duties and stuff coming out for like a short period on Game Pass and stuff, yeah, I'm
totally for that.
I'm
considering fucking Black Ops 2 is still $50 and it's been like 10 years.
Insane.
Xbox, do something about that. Put that shit on Game Pass. Put that shit on Game Pass.
Just like offhand, how many fucking Call of Duty games can you think of that
27
came out since then?
Probably 27.
And 27 is probably not a bad guess.
Considering like the DS and mobile games and whatnot, 27 is probably fine.
27.
I also got some breaking news here, actually.
No way.
Breaking news.
What you got?
Breaking news. So here's the headline: a man who took an airline company to court after his luggage went missing. You want to guess what happened?
He lost.
He lost his case.
Yeah, of course he did.
Mm-hmm.
So that's breaking news, eh?
It's breaking news.
Well, look at that. So sometimes shit happens exactly like the way you think it would.
Sometimes it exactly would.
Sometimes it happens
He lost
exactly
his
like
fucking
you think
case.
It would. Lost his luggage and his case because fuck the proletariat. That's what they're trying to tell you.
With all that, breaking news out the way, I think we can go to our first ad read to help pay some bills to support this wonderful podcast you guys are listening to.
This episode of Sounds Obtuse Podcast brought to you by Pizza Guy Spy.
Pizza Guy Spy, how many times tell Americans if you order pizza will be left in the dark for 25 to 55 minutes alone? Where is it? Where did it go? Sure, you could have chucked the new-angled smartphone device, but who has time for that? It's 7:30 and Tucker Carlson is coming on the screen. Is that a pizza on its way or a migrant caravan? You're a red-blooded American patriot who believes in small government. You shouldn't have to wait for pizza for some Zen Z delivery guy take his devil's lettuce to the Arby's parking lot 2 blocks from your house. Now, Pizza Guy Spy, a literal spy, white male, 50s aesthetic, a literal spy, let me remind you, suit and tie, will tail your pizza from the store to your house. Pizza shouldn't be a guessing game. And with Pizza Guy Spy, it doesn't have to be. And we're back. Thank you. Thank you, the Pizza Guy Spy, for supporting the podcast. Wonderful ad to have pay these bills here at the Sounds Obtuse Podcast. Somehow we have to buy this wine. Somehow we have to get these paper plates to put this coconut peppered farm cake onto before we, do this podcast. We can't be doing a podcast on an empty stomach. We gotta have wine. We gotta have cake. We gotta have cheeses, crackers, all that sort of stuff. So these are things that go a long way into helping support this podcast. Thank you guys. So today's episode, if you didn't guess by the initial intro,
If you didn't guess by us telling you.
Right, yours truly. Yeah, if you didn't guess by now, we are talking about the goddamn Olympics.
We are.
The motherfucking Olympics.
The GDMF and Olympics.
The Olympics,
as some might call them.
While the history of the Olympics goes back deep and far and wide, which we'll kind of dabble into, currently we have the Olympics where you ask, are the ice skaters who are male, are they gay?
Is that what we're doing? I didn't know that's what we're doing.
Possibly.
I thought we were going to talk about like athletic athletic
let's
and things like that. I didn't know we were going to talk about whether or not they're gay, Chris. I didn't know that was what you cared about.
Let's start at the beginning. So if you don't know anything about the Olympics...
Well, okay, if we start at the beginning, then they all were gay because they were all Greek.
So this is what I'm getting at. So we'll really start with the Greeks.
Hashtag Greek
who
is all gay.
Who were like hanging out. They were bored. It was summertime. They're like, hey guys, you want to get a little more sweaty and a little more muscular together?
Don't forget the olive oil.
They're like, hey guys, you want to rub some olive oil on each other? We can get super muscular and we can show off who's strongest. And they're like, yeah, let's do that. So then they ended up like throwing javelins and discus and running and shit like that.
Exactly.
So basically they did that, and then everyone else around them were like, hey, that's kind of a cool idea. So then like the whole world does it now, 2,000 plus years later.
My God, I mean that is just.
What a novel
Chris,
concept.
I couldn't have summed it up better myself.
That's how it goes. That's how it goes.
I've never heard someone regurgitate the Olympics in 2 seconds.
We go from Corinthian columns to ice sledding. That's where we're at now.
Jamaican bobsled teams all the way back to Corinthian columns.
Yep, Disney.
There's a through line.
Disney home media.
We're not gonna excavate the through line for you. That's for you to do. You have Google and Wikipedia. You can do that, but we're telling you that it exists. So that's half the battle.
Definitely. So some people might think of ancient Greece, oiled up with olive oil, throwing things as far as they can, measuring them. But to me, you know what I tell you? You know what I think of when I think of the Olympics?
What do you think of, Chris?
You might not be as favorable as I am, or I'm probably not as favorable as you are towards the Olympics.
Okay.
Because when I think of the Olympics, I think of that time where once every 4 years, when I'm watching the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon or Jay Leno, where they're on hiatus, and I can't watch my weekly 11:30 post news show Hollywood interview musical guest wrap-up show. I gotta watch these guys throw a ball around or sled down a circle. That's to me the Olympics.
Well, I'm gonna quote to you what every person from my hometown has said to me at least once. You sound pretty un-American right now.
Pretty. You know what's un-American? Can I tell you what's un-American?
What's that, Chris?
So what's un-American is that because the Olympics are on the TV, on the television, on the USA Network, in fact, because they're on the USA Network, I have to watch my WWE Monday Night Raw on the Sci-Fi Channel. Is that American, Dylan? Is that American? Yeah, that's what's happening in the next 2 weeks. I have to change from channel 18 to channel 40 to watch wrestling.
But can't you watch wrestling any other time?
I watch it.
Why wouldn't you want to watch this? Watch some figure skating, or watch some curling, perhaps.
I will say this. I do love the winter sports more so than anything else.
Do you? I'm actually a bigger summer sports fan.
Really?
I am.
I'm a winter sports fan. Interesting fun fact. When this podcast was incarnate, we had our first glass of Barefoot on tap red sangria wine.
Spark the pod, the spark of inspiration.
The Summer Olympics were on the screen. I remember Dylan came over. He said, hey, do you guys mind if I throw on the Olympics? And I was like, no, man, have at it. We got nothing else going on. And then we drank some wine and said, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we had a podcast? Here we are.
Oh, I mean, honestly, the Olympics probably got us talking about something like capitalism or something.
But what's special is that this is probably the only time, perhaps in history, where the Summer and Winter Olympics have happened within like a 6-month period of each other.
That's actually, yes. And for the Olympic junkie, that has been just like utter, like, what? This is insane back to back. It is kind of sad because it's COVID Olympics, which we'll kind of get into. But that aside, like, if you just take the goods, I mean, you get 2 Olympics in under 6 months. That's amazing. Yeah, I'm definitely a bigger Summer Games fan. I was over here watching what were we watching? It was the beach volleyball tournament.
It was beach volleyball.
Which is my all-time favorite sport of the Olympics. Girls and gals, love them both. But now we got these winter games, and I think this is a very interesting time. These games are very different than I think any other games that I can think of. Well, it's actually not cold. It's part of the problem. It's not cold.
Global warming. Al Gore warned us.
Have you seen the ski slopes there? They're depressing.
I don't think there's much chilling. Was it Pyongyang, China?
It's okay. So I feel like you're trying to say Pyongyang.
Pyongyang. I was close.
Stop. If we ever get a Chinese listener, they're gonna tune right the fuck out, and I don't blame them. Honestly, I'd probably walk out with them if I had the fucking choice.
Pyongyang.
Stop saying anything. Just stop talking. Stop saying Chinese places.
We're in Beijing this year.
Yes, we are, Chris. Thank you for that astute observation. Yes. It's very depressing because you'll see pictures of these mountains and like they'll be skiing down a mountain that looks like it's in a desert except for this one like track of snow that they laid down, and it's really sad.
Just a little bit of frost.
Just a little bit, just like a one chilly night kind of frost. But that's pretty interesting. I mean, it's still like it's very weird for me being a Olympics junkie and not having fans in the stand. Because you kind of thrive off that. Like, I mean, like even for like the sporting events back in like the early days of COVID, when it was like
it's always weird, man.
The stadiums were empty. It was like, man, this is fucking crazy.
I know they had to bring up wrestling. They had the Thunderdome, which had like screens. I think one of the NBA teams initially had that, where it was like screens and viewers can like tune in and satellite, like Skype in and be like there. It made it tolerable, but still no replacement for real fans.
No. Because there's just like an electricity that's in the air that you can't remaster. And so that's definitely I mean, we are looking at the screen right now for the figure skating, and it's just empty stands. And that's just a weird sight because this is one of the most important events. Okay, hang on. It's not one of the most important events, but it's one of the like most coveted events. It's one of the most pageantry filled events. It's something we all look forward to. The Olympics.
Do you think no fans makes it even more nerve-wracking for these Olympians who have trained for years?
I don't personally know because if you ever saw a picture of me, you would know that I'm certainly not.
Well, an athlete. That's all I want your take. So how would you feel about that?
So I've kind of cheated because I listen. I mean, obviously, I stay up to date with the Olympics, and so I'm constantly listening to like podcasts and stuff like that about the Olympics and what's going on, talking to the players, the athletes, and so they're always talking about how it's weird. Yeah, it's weird. You're used to like you get used to performing in front of a lot of people.
You kind of feed off that
right
that energy.
Yes, I mean, especially if you're China. I mean, and you're in China, and there's no one in your stands. Like that's just
that's
weird.
Extremely weird. Like there's no hometown advantage.
This is a home field, and there's no one here. That's got to be weird. So I think it's just a very bizarre place to be, seeing everybody with masks on. Which, of course, I'm not like talking shit about mask. I understand the mask. Still, it's just odd seeing this sport or this sporting event just covered with some of these things, because the Olympics always seemed like this like far off place, like, oh wow, this magical world of the Olympics and everything's fine there, and now to see them like all in masks and stuff, it's like, man, this is just
and usually place. It's pretty much like an orgy fest because you have like the most
you're not wrong. And
like sexually peaked athletes, like these fine-tuned people who are just like exclusively in one spot, all at the same time, all at once.
I mean, isn't it just like the ultimate fantasy? Like, you are a superstar athlete representing your country, and you're in this place who set up a village full of superstar athletes around your age representing their country, and you just get to fuck and compete your little hearts out
to the point where like the official Olympic administration gives you condoms because they know you're gonna need them.
They know you're gonna be doing it. Like, that sounds like the greatest party you'd ever have, doesn't it? Doesn't that sound
pretty rad?
I'm not gonna lie, I think about that. That is an actual fantasy. Like, I just imagine getting to be at the Olympic Village and just the type of shit that goes on. It's gotta be amazing.
Like you see what this ice skater's doing on the ice.
Yeah.
Imagine what she does in the bedroom.
Probably
you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Listen, probably not in China, but I mean, you catch me in like Sydney or something.
Oh yeah.
Atlanta? Hot Atlanta? Totally. I bet the Hot Atlanta games were just a fuck fest.
You take her to a Waffle House. Actually, Kurt Angle, Olympic gold medalist in wrestling, won it with a broken freaking neck, WWF World Champion.
I don't believe. Wasn't he actually not an Olympic champion?
No, he was.
Was Kurt Angle actually Olympic champion?
He was, dude. Dude, I read his book. He won the 1996 Atlanta
No shit.
golden medals with a broken freaking neck.
Look at that.
American. True patriot.
So let me
It's true. It's damn true.
So let me ask you this. Let's talk about the actual Olympics a little bit, and then we want to talk about a little bit broader.
Totally.
So, what do you think about the Olympics?
So,
Chris? Like, what's your favorite game? What
can I
kinda
give
stands
you
out?
my hot take or cold take in this sense,
Cold
since it is
take.
the Winter Olympics?
Cold
so I
take.
I did say I like the Winter Olympics more than the Summer Olympics, which I didn't always feel that way. But now that I'm older, I can appreciate the Winter Olympics. You know what I mean? So, but if I can give you my cold take, perhaps in this environment at least on the Winter Olympics, is, and you might not like it, but I don't give a shit.
What?
I don't give a shit.
How?
It's the Olympics. So I get it. You get all the biggest, baddest athletes all over the world. And
Like, you're a
converging.
sports fan.
I'm a sports fan. But here's the thing. I'm not keeping up with ice skating for 4 years
No one does.
prior to.
No one does except them. That's the point.
Yeah. But like, so all of a sudden, like once every 4 years, I'm supposed to care about.
Yes.
I'm
you're
supposed to
missing
ca-
the fucking point.
So, all right. What about the World Cup? Like, I probably give maybe a little bit more care about the World Cup.
Fuck the World Cup. That's soccer, right?
It's soccer.
Who the holy fuck cares about the World
Well,
Cup?
apparently more people than the Olympics, I would imagine.
They're all
I
wrong.
don't know the official stats on that.
Listen,
So-
they're all wrong.
So, Alex, I don't keep up with ice skating. I don't keep up with curling.
No one does.
I don't keep up with none of this flim flam booty chatter, right? I will say this though, I do keep up with Barilla, Schill, Michaela Schifrin.
Okay.
Kind of simp for her a little bit. Not gonna lie.
Except for Michaela Schifrin. Okay,
She,
you got a fan right here, Michaela.
So she was the first Sports Illustrated women's athlete, I think, of the year, if I'm not mistaken, to say, "Hey, I actually don't want to go into a bikini. If that's cool, I kind of just want to wear my actual sports gear, which was a full body, snowsuit." And I respect that. I really do.
For sure.
She's really into
Her body. Her right.
Yeah, exactly, and I appreciate that because I appreciate her for the sport, especially if she's doing it for this country. So she is the one of the few athletes I actually do keep up with. She is a Barilla shill to the point that as an Italian, I think Barilla makes horrible pasta. But because I want to support Schifrin and I want to support this country, I'll buy Barilla.
Just buy Berea just for Michaela.
Yeah, Michaela Schifrin. If you're not buying Barilla, you're not supporting this country. That's basically what I'm getting out of that.
That's solid.
You know what I mean? That makes sense, right?
I love the Winter Olympics. I definitely like the Summer Olympics more. As I said, beach volleyball is like my just absolute sport. It's my
I think that was what came on when you came over. It was beach volleyball.
It was. I literally told you guys like this is on. And I'm gonna watch it. So if you want to have me over, I'm gonna watch it. But love that. But I also do love mixed doubles curling.
I fuck with curling pretty hard.
So mixed doubles curling is interesting because it's one of the newest Olympic sports. So mixed doubles is a male and a female, and they have 5 stones over 8 ends. So both teams shoot 5 stones.
It's like horseshoes on ice, basically.
Right, but there's so much finesse to it. Like curling is such a tactical sport. Like my second favorite sport of the Winter Olympics is hands down figure skating. But I get to watch
good.
I get to watch figure skating just like a tourist. Just like, oh wow, that's impressive. I couldn't do that. Whereas curling, I actually understand. And though I've never gotten the chance to play it, I understand curling because it's one of my favorite sports to watch in the Olympics. And I only get to watch it during the Olympics, Christian, which is my point. No, shut up. Which is my point. You don't have to care about these sports for 4 years. You don't need to. That's the beauty of it. That's reserved for your sports like football or baseball or basketball. That's the shit you have to stress over and actually own up for your team.
Yeah, no one's placing bets on curling or figure skating.
You can just watch curling. You can just enjoy the way curling works. The rules are super simple once you learn them. It's like you can just sit down and watch the game and have no baggage over whose team you're on or yada yada.
I'm always voting for America, regardless.
That's
just
actually not the case for me.
as a patriot, I'm always voting for America. I believe in my country, and if they're not winning, then what are they doing out there? You know?
So I usually will end up voting for I will end up voting for America most of the time. I'll be pulling for them. Always pulling for America, but they're not always my favorite
APA,
team.
always pulling for America.
They're not always my favorite team, because if I'm watching Brazil women's volleyball, women's court volleyball,
They got those booties. I'm voting for Brazil too.
it has nothing to do with that. I just have always enjoyed watching Brazil, but Brazil is definitely my volleyball team. But if I'm watching like beach, America. But during the Winter Olympics, whenever I'm watching curling, say mixed doubles curling, I'm not gonna lie, I got to get up to the Scottish team. You're not gonna hear them called the Scottish team. They're gonna be called the Great Britain team, but they're actually the Scottish.
Same thing, right?
I mean, no, they're not, because in the World Championships they are the Scottish team and they dominate the British team, and that's why the British team ain't fucking up there. They're from Scotland, so I will say the Scottish team. They're
Scottish team representing the UK.
Yes.
See, as
carrying the UK on their back to a curling gold medal.
So as a Puerto Rican Italian Jew, I have several horses in this race. But as a person who resides in American,
in American.
In American, yes.
Could you please learn our fucking language if you want to claim to be one of us?
You're sounding like a real patriot there, Dylan.
I know.
I gotta say.
Oh man, can we please start using the word patriot as a negative? I'm ready for that. That's the next shift I need.
So, as I mentioned this to you earlier, as we were talking about, just kind of like talking about the Olympics, I made reference to the fact that the curling, as I'm a fan myself, believe it or not, they're basically the curtain jerkers for the Olympics, because as of this recording, the official Olympic opening ceremony has not happened yet.
It hasn't.
Which is a shame.
There's a few things that happened before, but I am pretty sure the only actual real competition that gets underway is curling. Curling starts their round robin for mixed doubles 2 days before the opening ceremony, and I'm pretty sure we're seeing figure skating, but I'm pretty sure this is all like qualifying stuff. I'm pretty sure
Is that all it is? Just qualifying?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure these people are qualifying. I'm pretty sure the only people that are actually competing right now are the mixed doubles curling.
So earlier, actually, when we were talking about this, we're watching it's the mixed qualifying figure skating Olympics. We actually saw, was it the Americans who came out with the Joker theme?
No, that was not I think that was it Germany? I think it was Germany.
So Germany came out with
this is rhythm.
Okay, this is rhythm, by the way.
Rhythmic figure skating.
Rhythmic figure skating. They came out with like a Joker kind of from Suicide Squad. Jared Leto's Joker. There was some laughing. He had the purple vest, the green hair, all that sort of stuff.
Very dramatic.
Yeah, it was very Joker-esque. You could probably say the other lady with him was Harley Quinn. But they were dancing to Norman Greenbaum's Spirit in the Sky, and then it transitioned to the White Stripes Seven Nation Army. Like, how do you judge that? I mean, I know you're not an Olympic judge, but
I guess you got to go to.
How do you judge that?
Like, are you asking me personally, or are you asking me like how someone judges that? Or
I'm asking all of it. Like, is the music even necessary? Are they like synchronizing to it? Like, is it the music to distract you?
I think that's the point. Is if
like it doesn't seem like it's water synchronization.
I think you're sort of answering some of your question. Is like,
am I?
Are they synchronized with the music? Then they should be scored higher. Or is the music used as a distraction? Then they should be scored lower.
All right.
I think you're answering your question of like how do you score them? Well, you score them based on what they get. Although I will also say, I think for me, as someone who actually watches figure skating during the Olympics and tries to keep an eye on like who's actually scoring what, rhythmic is one of the harder ones to score. It's more of what the judges want to score.
Yeah, that's what I feel like. Because like when you're watching like dog shows, you're like, oh, clearly this dog should have won, but that old bitch thinks that this bitch should have won. And I mean bitch in both ways in that sentence, just so you guys know.
I got you.
And really, it's just that poodle's cute. That's what it comes down to. So is that really what it is? It's like,
I mean, like rhythmic, maybe, but I mean,
like I like that song. She's got a cute dress on. They win.
I'll say this: we have not gone to the type of ropes that people who judge this sport
we haven't,
and they're probably seeing things
we're armchair Olympic judging for sure, 100%.
I mean, they're probably judging things we couldn't even imagine. So I can appreciate that. I think if you like rhythmic is really hard to judge, but if you show me like regular figure skating, I can usually tell you like, oh wow, that's a triple axel. I can tell you what that's gonna do, or
okay,
stuff like that.
So you know your figure skating well.
But curling too. If you want to hear me like nerd out, I'll tell you about the curling rules because it is by far one of my favorite. It's by far my favorite Winter Olympic sport. I love the curling.
Olympic. You know, honestly, like it probably is mine too because I feel like it's something I could do.
You can just sit and drink to it forever too. It's just like the best. Like I don't know why it's not more popular. I don't know why curling's not more popular than NASCAR. It doesn't make any sense. It's all it is just an excuse for people who would normally be getting drunk on a Saturday to continue to get drunk on a Saturday. So why not just put fucking NASCAR instead of NASCAR? We have curling. It'd be so much better. I'm in, honestly.
Yeah, I definitely watch that.
But I have been also getting a lot of shit this Olympic cycle because of where this Olympics is. People are not very happy about that.
China.
So, yeah, like, I actually got called out the other day because somebody, I guess, knows that I care about human rights being, I don't know, human.
Yeah, China makes those chimeras where they, like, fuse multiple animals together, and some say it's an affront to God.
Maybe. I kind of got called out because I love the Olympics and I'm excited for the Olympics. And I had people telling me, oh, America should have just boycotted the Olympics. They should have just not even gone, not sent athletes.
There was lots of talk of boycotting.
Okay, so there is a diplomatic boycott. You're not going to see any American diplomats there. That's a diplomatic boycott. But a full-scale boycott, like don't send athletes, who the fuck does that hurt?
Michaela Schifrin, that's what that hurt.
Yes, it hurts the athletes. So, like, no, if you actually think that we should have told our athletes you're not allowed to go, I got a problem with you because these athletes
what are they trained for?
I mean, several athletes, because they're actually 4 years apart for the sports that they're in, I mean, several athletes only get a couple of cycles. So missing one cycle because your country doesn't like the country where the ILC chose to host the Olympics, that's a huge deal. So I can understand that. I can understand not.
Or even the Summer Olympics, where like you're like, hey, 2020 is our last time we'll be able to do this, and then it gets postponed. What do you do?
Right. Yeah. So I just wasn't really about that. But also, yes, China has a lot of problems they need to deal with. Obviously, the Uyghurs, human rights issues, social watchdog sort of network they have going on. There's a lot of stuff you could pin on them. But can't we also just enjoy the games? Like, is that possible?
That's what it's about, right?
Is it possible just for us to sit back and watch some amazing sports and go, wow, that was incredible? Like, because that's what I really fucking want, right? That's the beauty of it. I just want to sit back and think about how incredible it is.
It is.
And just enjoy it. And I don't understand why I have people like fucking mad that because I say that human rights is an issue, they're like, oh, well, then you must be boycotting the Olympics. Like, no, I'm gonna be watching the fucking Olympics, but I want
to see some good sports. That's all.
I can also multitask. So I can think something's a bad idea or a bad thing, and then I do think it's sad. I like hearing journalists talk about how they have to buy like all burner phones and stuff to go to China because they know that basically any phone or anything you take over there will be compromised.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty fucking crazy. Like I can just imagine, like, well, goodbye phone or whatever.
Yeah, at least leave it at home,
I guess so, yeah. That'd be just pretty interesting. But is there any, like, historical moments in the Olympics that stands out to you? Or is there any moment that stands out to you that
I
got
think
you interested?
to go back to the intro, Do You Believe in Miracles, 1980, the Olympic hockey team. That's a pretty good one. Is there a better moment in Olympics?
Did you watch it live?
I wasn't alive.
Okay, so no.
So I think it's hard to top that. But like I said, I did mention Kurt Angle, 1996, Atlanta. Broke his freaking neck, Olympic gold medals, did it for our country. He even said in his book, he was like, I didn't think I won, but then I heard my name and just, all the pain went away.
I think back to, I saw Phelps break the record for the most medals won. I got to watch that happen live.
That
was a big moment because I think
it was the weed.
I think I said during the podcast on patriotism or something, or maybe it was 9/11, that like the Olympics are something safe. I don't have to worry about the political connotations of it. I can just cheer for it. Like, yeah, USA. I'm just cheering.
USA,
team, baby.
That's what it's about.
Just cheering for my team.
That's what it's about.
But there isn't any political connotations to it, so it's just a very nice time to enjoy it. I don't know. I sort of really enjoy that aspect of it. The fact that it isn't so so weighed down by politics and such. Usually, I mean, it is this year. Like it's a very frustrating thing that it's so weighed down by politics this year because I just want to watch the games. So long as they keep the athletes safe and put on a good games.
Important number one.
And I've heard so many podcasts about like this is how China's using this as a propaganda tool. It's like, yeah, every country
isn't
does.
everybody using everything as a propaganda tool?
Every country uses the Olympics as the propaganda tool. Don't get mad at them for fucking doing it. Like, they're doing exactly what every other country does, and
it's gonna take a big hit to their
economy.
There you go. I
mean, sometimes, but honestly, people have been talking about how this is the most efficient Olympics they've ever been to.
You know, if anyone's gonna be efficient, I believe it's the Chinese.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Like,
but like 9 times out of 10, it like bankrupts the town.
The last Winter Olympics in Pyongyang, they
Pyongyang.
I don't think it was actually in Pyongyang. I think it was actually in a different place, but maybe it's not coming to me right now, because Pyongyang is the capital of North Korea, and that's not where the Olympics were. But nevertheless, the last Winter Olympics in Korea, they were talking about how there were like 4 or 5 hour delays getting through the airport. In China, several people got through the airport in like less than 40 minutes. That's impressive. Like, I mean, you might not appreciate the like scale of that, but to get this many athletes and training staff and all of that into a place securely with no fucking hiccups, that's pretty great. Like, that is some real serious logistics that it takes to get done. And I mean, we can give them a fucking hand. You can applaud, like, if these games go off well, you can applaud China and go, wow, job well done. You guys did a good job. You kept everyone safe. You did good. Like, you can say that. I'm a quote unquote, I call myself this, China watcher. I love China. The culture of China.
Guess I do for those China updates.
I love the China culture. The people are so interesting. The history is so rich. It's such a great culture and history to learn about. And so seeing them go from where they were 120 years ago to where they are now is just impressive. And to see them hosting one of the most prestigious games in the world.
It's almost like you did think you'd see it.
I mean, not twice in 16 years. Not twice in 16 years. No, you didn't.
Yeah, they were in Beijing like not too long ago, right? Oh, wait.
2008 was Beijing, I'm pretty sure.
Incredible.
Unless I'm wrong, it could have been 2008.
I think you're right.
Good on them. Although some people have said, is the IOC in bed with China? There is also the hiccup of Taiwan not being able to compete under their own name.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because China is such a big player.
But you'd almost want them on like, you know, in symbiote of your team.
Yeah, that is just sort of interesting, though. I just sort of look at that and like maybe the IOC could take a stand there. Worst case, China boycotts and the rest of us get to actually get some medals.
So who you got in this Olympics? America?
I mean, I'm always pulling for America to win the Olympics. That's never in doubt. Although there are certain sports, like I said, where I have a particular favorite team. When it's court volleyball, it's always going to be the Brazilians for female, and then for mixed doubles curling, it's always going to be Great Britain. Got to pull for the Scottish team.
So you said Ireland?
Scotland.
Scotland, Ireland.
The Scottish mixed doubles.
That's all UK, right? It's all UK, but in this case, it's going to be the Scotland representing UK because they're the best in the UK.
So Ireland is its own.
Ireland, okay. So Ireland versus Scotland.
There's the Republic of Ireland and the Northern Ireland.
I think the USA is going to win it all, baby. America, guns, all that stuff.
America does typically do really good during the Winter Olympics. I'm interested to see. China usually doesn't do as good during the Winter Olympics, even though during the Summer Olympics, they're usually the top competitor. I'm pretty sure China got most medals last time. But
it's most gold medals that matters.
I think so. I think we actually got most golds, barely.
Then we
beating
won.
out China. But China's they just have some incredible athletes. The comparison between China and America is honestly very interesting.
It's a big allegory for who has the bigger dick.
Could be.
Politically.
Could be.
As who has the most gold medals.
But yeah, I think
it's like a Mario. This is basically Mario Party for big dicks.
I mean, you can't argue with that.
You can't.
That's just some sound logic, honestly.
It's like the star for most coins goes to, you know, and then Toad rattles the drum, and then they're like, oh, it's Germany. They got a pity star.
But I think, we just want to talk about the Olympics a little bit. I think we got to do. I think I got out most of what I want to talk about. And then,
you know, I have one more thing to add to the Olympics.
Please.
Without the Olympics, we wouldn't have the X Games.
Is that true? I didn't know.
Probably not. Why would we?
Hang on, wait a minute. You can't say a definitive statement and then say probably not.
Come on, the X Games are the extreme sports Olympics. Am I saying anything, telling any tales out of school?
That's fair. But then again,
you got Dave Mirra, Tony Hawk, you know, Shaun White, even Olympic snowboarder, great guy. He does. He was in the X Games.
Is he retired currently?
Probably.
I feel like he's either retired or definitely going to be on his last year.
Probably. If he's not here this year, he's retired, which I don't blame him. He made his video game money. So without the Olympics, we wouldn't have.
Well, I mean, we definitely have
the
that
X Games.
Have that to think. I mean, that's
totally,
a great thing to have.
Totally.
And I think there's something you wanted to talk about. Well, what was it?
So yeah, one last segment before we get into. But first, we're gonna take one final ad break, and we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. Today's episode of Sounds Obtuse Podcast is brought to you by
Winston's Pistons. Here at Winston's Pistons, we get things moving. We go hard, we go fast, and we make it smooth for these stiff nights and long hours. The tireless days of grinding your pistons up and down and up. Our pistons perform better with picture-perfect perfection than other competing properties. Previous attempts at making a better piston has always fell flat. That was until Winston Wilson started making pistons in 1938 after working with his father, a fisherman, where one day his pistons failed, and Winston said, "Never again!" Since then, we have delivered the best pistons of all time. Of all time! Winston's Pistons. Use code FART. That's F-A-R-T. FART at checkout to save 20% on your first order. Winston's Pistons.
And we're back. Thank you so much for that word from our sponsor that'll help us pay the bills, support this very podcast you guys are enjoying right now. Thank you, Winston's Pistons, for supporting the podcast. Before we close out for today, we do got one more segment for you, brought to you by yours truly. You know, sometimes in the realm of creating a podcast, it's really just a way to get your ideas out there, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, that's basically the entire.
Pretty much. So I'm just like, kind of.
Facebook's pretty outdated.
Yeah, no one uses Facebook anymore. That shit's whack.
You gotta put your opinions out there in a more, more new age way.
Yeah, if you can't at least get a microphone, it's like no one cares what you're saying. No. So here we are.
You're just saying nonsense.
Here we are.
What are those fucking typed out words? Who the fuck has time?
Well, Dylan, you might be speaking too fast because this might be nonsense or it might not be. Depending on who's listening. But you're listening. You, the listener, you're listening. You're smart.
Our smart listener.
I'm going to use the Ty Lopez effect and just hype you up and tell you are a fucking genius. But we ain't reading books, baby. I got a theory for you. So this segment we'll call working title.
Obtuse theories?
Obtuse theories, okay. Nice not to place the blame fully on me. So you'll have some theories sometimes, I imagine, I'm sure.
But yeah, I certainly will. I certainly have some. Trader Joe's parking lots, we can talk about that.
Ooh, Waffle House, huh? How about that? So anyway, obtuse theories. This is the Chris version of the obtuse theories. So I was talking with a great friend of mine, an actual historian who does work for the government, and he was sending me a bunch of videos today. And one of them was from a Reddit thread where this person from Brazil was just loading up this hot dog with tons of sauces, had lettuce, tomatoes, chili cheese, peas, mashed potatoes, hot dogs.
Too much?
Perhaps. Maybe, you think?
I think a little bit too much.
You think?
I think you're overdoing it.
You might be overdoing it. So
I mean, somewhere along the way, you just lose the hot dog.
You think so, right? So I said to him, in just an offhanded text, I said, this is an actual quote. I said, that's what the white people are afraid of. Too much flavor.
I think I am afraid of that much flavor.
You might be. You're more white than I am.
I think everybody should be afraid of that. But you're half Jewish.
Yeah, that's basically not white though.
Don't throw that shit at me.
Yeah, it's white when it's convenient. I'll be honest with you.
You want to fucking like white off? Like no, we'll fucking white off if you really want to. But I don't think you want to.
So here's the theory, right?
Shalom.
Right? So white people are afraid of too much flavor. That's the working theory, right? So my friend, he said to me, hey, I'd love to hear more about this on your podcast. So here we are on the podcast.
AJ, this is for you.
Expounding upon the white people immigrant fear food theory. So here goes, right? You see, it's fear, ultimately. But of what? Is it colorful faces? No, not that. If I could summarize the TikTok I saw, these whites actually used to use seasoning. Would you believe that?
Did they?
They used to use seasoning.
When?
So here's what happened, right?
Before Britain?
They used to use seasoning. I mean, shit, we're here, bro. We're in America. You know what founded America? Fucking Mr. Columbus set sail, right? Did he not? He was like, we got to find these spices.
Not the seasoning foundation of this country. The seasoning foundation of this country came from Latins and African Americans.
Spices, right? We're talking about the same thing. Spices.
Yeah, sure.
So he's like, hey, whatever it takes, if we got to find a whole other half of the world in order to make this food taste good.
Spoiler alert, he did.
let's do it. So they went on that mission, right? So basically, he actually found a whole other half of the earth in search of these spices, right?
Yeah.
Fast forward, all these honkies think that salt is spicy.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at.
So what's your through line?
So how did this happen? Right? How did this happen?
Why did we become afraid of seasoning?
So, if this TikTok is to be believed, then the uppity whites were high and mighty once they found their spices.
And, I mean, they always uppity.
Right?
Let's be real.
So check this out. This is what happened. Then, after once they found the spices, they became easier to acquire. So the poor and the lower class were also eating these spices.
So it's not the status symbol that it was.
It is
to put
not the status
cloves on
symbol
your eggs.
that it was. And the white people were like, you know what? We don't even need the spices because our meat is so fucking good, so delicious, so delectable. Fuck out here with that spice.
Because they didn't have any money.
That's what they say. But basically, out of pettiness, they did it to themselves.
That's pretty petty. Like,
Pretty petty.
Oh, okay. Honestly, it sounds like a pissed off girlfriend.
It does.
Of
It
like,
does.
oh, okay, what? You think I didn't season this right? I'll never season it again.
I might get into that. Stay tuned.
Never
Stay tuned.
season food ever again.
So out of pettiness, the white people did it to themselves where they didn't use spices, despite literally finding the whole other half of the world in search of them. Right? Seems ironic, at the very least. So
they also found like gold and silver.
They did.
Once
They did.
They got there, so they
But,
were like, you know what?
you know,
maybe fuck these spices.
maybe. But we have several avenues to explore, right? So is it that perhaps the whites deeply associate good or exotic flavors with the lower class, and they don't want to be under that same umbrella, the lower class umbrella?
Certainly a possibility.
Possibility, right?
Yeah.
I got a second possibility for you. Is that the colors of the spices are actually scary to them, similar in the way that how in nature, like the bright colored frog in the jungle is probably poisonous.
So like sushi, they're just like, bah!
So the exotic or different food in this case is alarming. They avoid it like a badly colored berry.
So white people are inherently racist against good food.
Not necessarily.
That sounds like what you're saying.
I like where you're headed. But so we have a third option, right? So we have a third option. Speaking of things that are different, things that are different or just new things in general can also just kind of seem daunting. And throughout generations, it just gets diminished through bloodlines. So with no one trying the good stuff or the exotic flavors, the taste just fades away.
I can see like a mixture of all three.
Oh yeah, totally. But I have a fourth option for you.
What's that?
Something you might not have thought of. So let me ask you something, Dylan. As a man, what is the old idiom? What is the way to a man's heart?
Through his stomach.
Through his stomach. I'll reiterate that. Through his stomach. So if someone told you, they said they had some food for you, right? You're a man. You like food?
I do.
If someone told you they had some food for you, person A has some boiled chicken. Person B has some fried chicken. Where are you going?
Fried chicken.
Fried chicken.
Every day.
Every single day. Without hesitation, you said that. Notice. You dating a black girl? It's pretty much the next step.
Well, I hope she never listens to this pod because she'll hate you, but yeah.
It's the next best thing, right?
Yeah?
So basically what I'm saying is you're going with the flavor. So, the white woman cooking does not compare. And if the men got a taste for it, for real flavor that is, well, the bloodline, survival, is at risk.
I would say they already got a taste for it.
So it's almost like a form of eugenics. In that it encourages sameness, right? So basically, because the white women especially have fed their husbands and family bland food for generations,
their fault.
Their kin can't handle the rest of the culture. We all eat, after all.
So old white bitches made their young white bitches racist.
So basically, they can't.
Is that what you're saying?
I'm getting to it. I'm getting to it.
That's what you're saying.
It's almost like they're afraid to eat at our table. You know what I mean? When ironically, they've been kind of taken from our table this whole time, right?
Right.
So what's different here? It's kind of like that Mexican corn dish with mayo. It's like on paper, white people should fucking love it, but it's got a little paprika on it, so they're just terrified. You know?
Nothing scares white people like a little paprika.
That's it. You tell white people there's mayonnaise and corn, they're like on board.
What?
You throw in paprika, they're like, whoa. See, it's a
Calm down there, Habib.
Exactly. So it's, what are they doing? If I could just summarize all this.
Please, put it together for us.
Please let me summarize it. Be it fear of looking bad, thinking that you're one of the lower class. Be it fear of colors, thinking that these new exotic colorful foods are actually harmful to you as a form of nature. Be it fear of the unknown, as you've kind of gathered. Bland food begets racism.
Yeah, and I would just say don't buy the Tucker Carlson cookbook.
Yeah, and if you ask me, food is like...
Listen, mayonnaise sandwiches can only be made so many different ways before eventually you're just like, God damn
sometimes you throw peanut butter, sometimes you throw bananas.
This is boring as shit.
Because everybody eats, food is a huge part of our culture. And if you're not experiencing that huge part, then you're missing out on the better part of any culture.
I fully agree with that.
Thank you.
I do.
I thought you might.
Very well said.
Thank you. I did have a couple things I wanted to end the podcast with.
Are we going to talk about this thing? Because I'm ready to fight, and that's why I was reluctant to. I just want to make it a whole bit. I'm ready to fight, so say it. Say your piece.
Ready to fight. So last week we gave our NFC and AFC conference championship matches.
Totally wrong.
We have our Super Bowl contenders, ladies and gentlemen. It is the upset of a century in the American Football Conference. The Kansas City Chiefs have been defeated by the Cincinnati Bengals. They're going to the Super Bowl.
It's tragic.
To face the Los Angeles Football Rams. As if there's any other football Rams. The Cincinnati Bengals upset versus the Los Angeles Rams. Dylan, I gotta ask you, mano a mano, here we are at the closing stages of this podcast. Who do you got for the Super Bowl?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and say the Rams got it, which means the Bengals are going to win. Because every other fucking assumption I've made has been wrong.
You know what? I'll take that gamble because I want the Rams to win. I'm rooting for the Rams.
I do too.
I'm rooting for the Rams, but I'm going to say Bengals. So if I'm wrong,
I'm right.
I'm right. And if I'm right, I'm
wrong.
right, baby. Bengals all the way. Here we go. Muncie, Indiana, Ball State. All those people in the adjacent territories, Hooday.
I think that'll be fun. I think there was also a little bit of other NFL news.
There was some other NFL news.
Something else happened. I feel like I can't remember it.
The football team of this great state, Virginia, that we are in, if you want to include Maryland, go fuck yourself. This is Virginia.
It's not the state.
The Washington District of Columbia.
Thank you.
Has a new football team name. It is no longer the Redskins. It is no longer the Washington football team, which I was kind of going to like.
I honestly, so was my best friend.
I really
who's
was.
A huge fan.
I really was.
He has been a lifelong fan of the Washington football team, and
he
was like,
now.
you know what? I don't hate the name.
I loved it. I was like, if I wasn't an Eagles fan, I would definitely be a Washington football fan. I've pretty much lived here my whole life. But they are now known, a spoiler alert, by the fucking helicopter news team,
if you don't
by
know
the way.
Now.
They are the Washington Commanders.
So here's the thing.
Tell us that thing.
Listen, I don't really care. If you were to ask me right now what fan I am in the NFL, I would tell you I'm probably a Phillies fan. I am one of Phillies fans. And that's strictly because my co-host and his brother, another one of my best friends, are Phillies fans. So Eagles. So Eagles fans. So I got to pull with them. I have zero allegiance to Washington. Zero.
So my personal best friend and reason we're friends is that we hate Dallas and hate Tom Brady. He was a Redskins fan. I'm an Eagles fan, but we take solace in that. He's now a Washington Commanders fan.
So
I know how I feel about that.
So I don't personally have a dog in the race. I want to make that clear. I'm talking from an objective position. But boy, I don't understand what the fuck is so awful about Commanders.
I think the one thing
I don't get it.
People have brought up is that the fact that it's going to be abbreviated to the commies.
They don't have to make it that. That's like them taking the most obvious answer and going, well, I guess this is what we are now. And these are the fans of the team.
And it
It's
just
like,
happens to
these
be
are
in
you.
Washington, D.C.
These are you all. You all aren't supposed to be making fun of your own team. So if you don't want them to be that, make it something else. You could call them the fucking Commandos.
I was feeling
Like-
the football team, man. I really liked it. I was hoping they'd stick with it.
I did have one friend. I'm going to call him AJ. This is a separate AJ from your AJ.
Okay.
But I don't want to use his name. He's an active member in our U.S. military. And I
How
don't
about
wanna use his
BJ?
name. No,
You know, AJ, BJ. Next one would be CJ.
no, I'm going to go ahead and call him AJ.
AJ too.
Let's call him Hispanic AJ.
Okay.
So Hispanic AJ told me his problem with the name Commanders, which is the only valid problem I've heard so far, is the fact that the name doesn't make sense in a logical point of view, because you're not.
I feel like any other name would have been finer.
You're not gonna have multiple commanders, and he said it's the same thing with chiefs. You're not gonna have multiple chiefs on a team. You're gonna have a chief. So you're not going to have a commander of, or you aren't going to have commanders. You're going to have a commander.
If it's safe to use, I feel like Chiefs would have been more in line.
So that makes more sense.
But is it right?
I understand his criticism of you're not going to have multiple commanders. I get that. That one, I understand. However, we still have the Packers. We still have
The Steelers.
The Steelers makes some sense. But it's just like you have such dumb names in the NFL, and you're going to be mad at the Commanders?
That's Browns.
The Browns! Commanders
What
is
that?
not that stupid. Commanders, it's not that dumb.
It sounds like a cool name, but it's like maybe I'm just like getting so used to the football team as a long time, having watched the Redskins all over. But like, I agree, I don't feel comfortable saying Redskin. Football team, it just rolls off the tongue.
But there's your rub.
Mm-hmm.
You give it Commanders 2 years, it'll feel like they were never anything else.
Yeah.
It'll just be the Washington Commanders. No one will ever think about it in 2 years. They won't even think about the time that they were called the Foreskins. They won't even fucking think about it.
I do appreciate that they have like they have the red jersey, the white away jersey, and then the black alternate jersey with like the red and the yellow stripes.
I heard that that's a little controversial in that there's not, like, black is not one of their
There
official
isn't.
colors.
That's what surprises me, because I
So
thought
it
one
is-
of the cool
it
points
is
about the
quite
Washington
different.
team was that they had a yellow jersey. Not many teams in the NFL have a yellow jersey. I always look forward to those oddball kind of jersey pairings, especially when they're doing throwback uniforms. Maybe that's what they could do when they do their throwback. They go to the Washington football team as opposed to the Redskins next year.
Gotta say, if they keep calling themselves the commies, I mean, they're gonna have a fan for life. They gotta slow it down. I'm trying to be an Eagles fan. They're over here calling themselves the commies.
Washington commies at that.
Did you see their original logo? The OG logo for the Commanders.
I'm not sure if I did.
So it had a shield on it, and it had like several of the years that they won the championship, which were also wrong because they were the year that they physically won the championship and not the season that
Totally
the championships
different.
were won,
Totally different.
which is totally different and totally weird. However, in the midst of all of these numbers stood the greatest phrase ever, and I wish they would have kept it. I'm really sad that they didn't.
6 tiredness.
The people's team.
The people's
The Washington Commies. The people's team.
That would have been good.
It would have been. I feel like I feel like someone like me was told, "Hey, we need you to make a football team," and that was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, cool."
It's almost like, I can't use any of these teams that they've already pre-selected I use, so I guess I'll use the Commanders since I don't have the rights to use football team.
I mean, we already have the Lions, the Bengal Tigers, and the Bears. Oh my.
Yeah, what more do you need? Commanders?
Commanders is not that bad.
If you told me there was a National Football League that didn't have a team called the Commanders, I'd be like, what are you guys doing?
Right. It's really not that bad.
It's much better than the Redskins. I'm warming up to it now.
I said something like that on Facebook, and people just got so mad at me for even
so
believing.
mad. How could you call them the Commanders?
You think that's a good name? And I'm just like, I don't know why it was Jewish. What do you think it was?
I'll have to ask my friend who actually gave me the incentive to write today's theory, see how he feels about the Commander, and kind of get an actual lifelong fan's input.
That'd be great.
That would be great. We also had one more thing to mention before we do close out today's pod. You wanted to mention a GoFundMe charity for a very close person of ours, someone we work with whose house, I believe, had burned down.
Yeah, so we just we worked with a gentleman for a short time. His name is Matthew Mayotte, and he has, a lovely family. He seems like the most Canadian guy. I actually thought he was Canadian for the longest time, and his name seemed like it should have been Bert because he just seems like such a nice Canadian guy.
That kind of Canadian.
Yes, and he's just like the nicest dude in the world. Doesn't want to offend a soul. Like literally doesn't want to offend you in the least. These, sadly, are the people that terrible things happen to.
Unfortunately.
Mr. Mayotte, his lovely young wife, and their 2 strapping young lads. Just a lovely
For
family.
anybody.
Look, this happens to a lot of people, but we have, because we know this person, we worked with this person, got to know them, and got to appreciate them and their family. We just want to give a special shout out. Listen, they lost their entire home in a fire.
Couldn't even imagine.
You can't.
Wouldn't want to.
You can't even imagine just a whole reset. Just imagine your entire life right now and press the reset button.
I always think, like, what is, like, 3 things I'd take if my house was to burn up at any moment? And I think of, like, 2 things, and the third one's always in the option. And to actually have to be in that situation, I could not imagine.
Yeah, so it's just tragic. Like I said, this is a husband, a beautiful wife, and 2 really sweet young kids. It just shouldn't have happened to them. Of all the terrible people, like, why couldn't Ghislaine Maxwell's house fucking burn down? Of all the fucking people, like, why couldn't someone who actually needed to have their house burned down have had it happen? Why did it have to happen to some of the nicest people in the fucking universe? So, if you, like me, dear viewer, are upset at the injustice of the universe right now, you can go to GoFundMe, okay? Help the Mayottes, that is MYOTTS, recover from devastating fire, organized by Katie Finney. Okay, that is Help the Mayottes, again, MYOTTS, recover from devastating fire on GoFundMe. You can find that on GoFundMe, on Facebook. You can find plenty of links. Anything you can help. If you have a hand to lend it.
You're in Brussels.
Got our Belgian viewer. We see you.
We
Help
know
out.
you're there.
Help out a little bit. Do your part. Solidarity. We're the 99%.
Yeah, we don't even know if this is getting out to most people, but we're putting it out there.
But the beautiful thing about 99% is that we are a fucking community.
Totally.
So you got to stand together. You got to help each other out whenever we're at the bottom. And right now, the Mayottes need our help. So everybody, pitch in a little bit. If you can give $5, if you can give $50, you can give $500. Doesn't matter. Give what you can give. Every little bit helps. Help these beautiful people get back on their feet.
Marilyn Manson, beautiful people.
But with that, I think I've said my piece. Maybe you've said your piece.
I think so.
I think we got a really good pod here, and I look forward to seeing you guys again in about a week.
Totally. It's been a blast, as always, hanging out with you, my dear host.
So once again, from us at the Sounds Obtuse Podcast family, peace and love.
Peace and love. As we just mentioned, this is long before hentai entered the fray, right? So we're talking like olive oil was like thoroughly sought after,
I don't think she ever was.
Bro, Popeye and Brutus, they were going to fisticuffs over this fucking skinny ass
olive oil was
skank.
actually like if like little boys were like sketching olive oil like
Dude.
fucking Garfield the cat.
Dude, so
she's not that hot. She's got a very square chin.